You know, it's really weird doing my recap video in the middle of the night because usually I do my recap video the next day because usually I'm attending the game. That all being said, I only get to enjoy this hat for about another week because Big Brain Mode can't lose a Big 12 title if you don't play for a Big 12 title. So that all being said, I want to give congratulations to the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Go get yourself a Big 12 title. My prediction was going to be would win by 4 points. It turned out y'all won by 4 points. For again, congratulations, y'all played a really good game. Uh, we'll get into all the recap and everything, but again, I do want to stress that because it's for the first time I believe in 7 years that there's going to be a different team than Oklahoma playing whoever it is in the Big 12 championship at this point. So again, guys, congratulations. So I want to delve right into this game. Mistakes cost us the game, guys. It's all part of it. Again, remember earlier in the year when I attended the Baylor game, I said this is just part of the being part of a blogger. You win some and you lose some. With Oklahoma, you're expected to win every single one. At that point, though, however, there are going to be games that Oklahoma drops, and you have big question marks of why did they drop these certain games. Even though Oklahoma was a underdog, quote unquote, walking into this game, you still have questions of what happened. So first off, I want to give props myself to the defense. You know, there's some issues on defense with it, what we saw about the first couple of series at that point. And I question a lot of Grinch's zone coverage in the beginning. The defense played out of its mind with it. We're used to the offense, the one playing out of their mind, and the defense not showing up with it. Those roles have been reversed. Defense played really well tonight. They had 4 turnovers with 3 actually recovered, and I believe there was 2 for scores at that point. We mostly contained Jalen Warren and stopped the run game, and we forced Spencer Sanders to throw. Now he made a lot of good throws at this point, but we made him play and force the ball. We made him use his legs and everything like that with it. So I have no real problems with the defense tonight. I think there's going to be a lot in the offseason that they're going to have to dig deep and look into and just kind of go into at this point. Again, the only issues I had was those first couple of series in the first quarter that they almost got settled at that point after the first quarter, and some of that zone and rotation. At some point, I do wonder why Grinch never puts our best players on the field at the same time. It's just baffling to me on that. Again, that's stuff we can discuss in the offseason at this point. So, the defense, though, is not what I want to focus on. What happens is, unfortunately, mistakes killed us, but those mistakes solely lie on the offense. Truth hurts. Offense left the defense out to dry, and someone mentioned it in the second half of the game. The offense didn't even score a point. And unfortunately, let's be honest at this point, mistake after mistake, penalty after penalty, bad coaching, and a poorly coached team overall resulted in the outcome you saw with it. Back almost 2 months ago, Riley made the choice to switch from Radler to Caleb Williams during the Texas game. Despite Caleb playing out of his mind in the Texas game, we all also have to realize like he was a true freshman at the time. He was going to make true freshman mistakes. And we've had essentially when you make that switch, you live by the true freshman mistakes and you die by those freshman mistakes at this point. And he's had a lot of them since the Texas game with it. Even tonight, he overthrew receivers. He held onto the ball too long and was just very indecisive. He just could not commit to whatever he wanted to do. The moxie he had against Texas is just long gone at this point, and he needs a lot of development work in the offseason at this point. The bowl game's a good place to start with it, but he needs a lot of that development. He had lanes that he could have ran, but again, he held on to the ball too long, and he just could not commit to that. In my opinion, Caleb's going to be great in time. The spark is there. I can't explain what it is, but he's a baller, and that's one of those. It reminds me a lot of Baker, where he doesn't like to lose. He's going to take it personally, and he's going to get better as a result of it. I think Caleb's going to be a good player, so I'm not worried about that at this point. Caleb's our player, our quarterback going forward with it. That being said, though, let's talk about the rest of the offense. What happened? What caused the meltdown? So first off, again, besides Caleb overthrowing, the wide receivers just couldn't catch the ball tonight at all. They half of it is I think Hazelwood and Woods had very bad games. Yeah, that on stat line maybe it's much better, but overall they had very bad games. They dropped a lot of balls that could have been caught. We weren't relying on the wide receivers. We were mostly relying on like Jeremiah Hall or Stogner. It took a lot of our game out that way, and it makes me question why wasn't Marvin Mims involved. I saw that they said too that Theo Weist was warming up and playing. If he was out there, it could have fooled me with it. I think he may have warmed up, but he did not play with it, and that could have hurt our wide receiver game at this point as well. Um, I mean, this has been a constant issue as well. The O line was bad. I mean, with all due respect, Caleb was running for his life a lot tonight, but the O line didn't give him any help at all. They would just, I don't understand why they just quit on the play at that point. If there was a difference between Oklahoma State's consistency versus Oklahoma's raw talent, Oklahoma just gave up on the plays. I just don't understand why they give up versus Oklahoma State, who made it until the whistle was blown with it. You got to figure that out on the O line because that's only going to help your quarterback out in the long run with it. And I've said this before, moving on to more skill positions as well. I said this kind of throughout the season, and I've said this kind of, I think it was Baylor or the game before that at that point, before the bye week, was Gray has not impressed me at all this season. Now, Gray had an atrocious game too. Don't mistake that. Well, he did not lose us this game. Like there was way more than just him. There was more penalties, everything like that. Don't think he lost us the game solely for that. But to me, the muff punt kind of epitomized what I've thought of Gray this entire season. He's kind of been a bust at this point. I would have thrown in Marcus Major over him and just tried something else. I just don't think Gray is good at a running back, in my opinion. Again, he is not the sole reason why Oklahoma lost tonight. It sucks, but he made a mistake that was very costly, but he did not lose it. But again, I think he's just kind of been a bust. Just like the overall offense. Offense didn't score a single, again, stress this, a single offensive touchdown in the second half. Before anyone says it, again, no, Radler would not have helped. The way Oklahoma State's defense was just gobbling up the Oklahoma O line, Radler wouldn't have done anything. And Caleb, the only reason he survived some of that was because of his legs. Radler wouldn't have solved any of that. So no, Radler would not have done better than Caleb. So we can throw that out right now with it. And finally, you have to go, why is the offense just sputtering? Why is the offense stalling? Why is the offense just so bad? Why are they so bad in the second half of the season? You have to go ask the person making $7 million a year. It falls on Riley. Again, I say this boldly. I said this in my live streams. I said this in other pre-games, and I stick with it. Riley has regressed and he has stagnated, and I fall where I had my that coming to, I guess, my own coming to Jesus moment with Bob Stoops when Bob got his butt whipped by Ohio State at home. That we were never going to win a national championship under him. I'm sticking to that with Riley now. Until Riley discovers what a killer instinct is, we're not going to win one under Riley. There's only so many times that you can make mistakes. There's only so many times where it's like the first time, oh, it's an accident. The second time it's a coincidence. The third time, it's a habit. We're seeing a lot with Riley that it is an absolute habit. No, this is not, again, and I'll stress this. No, this is not me calling for him to be fired. Not at all with it. Plus, if I was, who would you go replace him with? No, that's stupid. But there are problems that he has and problems that surround this program that seem to get worse and worse since about 2017. And to me, it was really epitomized in 2019 versus Iowa State. A signature of Riley's teams, for example, is they are not disciplined and they're full of penalties. And again, we saw that tonight. Penalties absolutely kill drives. He's not hard enough on these players. It shows they are not disciplined enough with it, and it costs drives. And it all we did was essentially do a lot of 3-and-outs at that point with it. Again, he goes with so many home run balls instead of doing short yards and passing and developing both the run and the long term game. I've said this before as well that he is a child of the air raid. I know the commentators on the game said like that's not what his coaching strategy is. I'm calling bull on that. That's really what his strategy is. When he is put in a corner, he goes into pass it happy mode, and it just doesn't work out at this point. Another habit that Lincoln has, and again, it epitomized itself tonight, is Lincoln let off the gas, and that's what I go back on that killer instinct is he plays not to lose in the second half, and rather than playing to win. I stick by that, and I do believe that. We've seen that. We've seen it. It's double digit games at this point, guys. It's a problem. You have to have someone else to manage it at this point. My other ones is when he goes into the passing game. Why don't you develop schemes with Caleb using his legs? I'm very baffled of why there was no play calling. The play calling was atrocious tonight. This has been one of the worst years of Riley's tenure with play calling. Maybe it's just the players haven't been committing to practice. Maybe the players have to make play. I don't know, but the play calling has been absolutely bad. I feel like I said like in other ones before. I feel like he's playing like Kevin Wilson. Yeah, he may be developing the play on the go, but he's still trying to make players do something that they can't. And I stick by that as well. Again, Riley got the run game away from him. I don't understand how when Brooks is doing 6.3 yards per carry, and you get away from that. I just don't understand that at all. It just seems like we do a series where Brooks is on fire. Oh, time to go move on to the pass game. I don't understand that. I really don't. Look, I don't get paid $7 million like Riley does, but you gotta be held accountable at some point. I don't understand why he gets away from the run game so much. Let's be honest, I know why he gets away from the run game because he's pass happy, but it just baffles me why you get away from your studs that who can do that. And again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Riley played down to his opponent, and we saw what they effed around, and we saw what happened. I said in my pregame, watch out for Brandon Presley. He's really good on kickouts. We saw exactly what happened. He had a 100-yard return. I said we need to watch out for Tay Martin. Tay Martin's one of the best wide receivers in the Big 12. I think we left him open in too many spaces, in my opinion. We contained him in theory with it, but I think we left him open too much. The O line has been bad. Caleb got sacked 6 times by the main guys I said that were going to be stud, Rodriguez, Harper, and Oliver. At one point, they even had it where, with the play calling and stuff as well, they only rushed 3, daring Caleb throw it, and he would throw it. Why don't you run the ball? Sorry, I'm going backwards on it, but it's just a lot of questions with this. As I'm recording too, this guy's as a side note, there's probably more stats with it, as the box score isn't up for the defense yet, so there's no like other stuff with it. I was just able to go in and kind of write some stuff down, but it epitomizes just the problems that Lincoln Riley has, and to me, he's regressed as a coach. I don't know how you solve that. I don't know what you do in the offseason. I don't know who you go basically hire to bring in to change that as well. It's pretty clear that Lincoln as the head coach cannot manage all these things. He needs to hire some other coaches to manage that. And that's important in this offseason. I'm going to get into that in the end. But at the end of the day, regardless of what I think of it, regardless of it, you had an opportunity. You had the chance to win this game all the way down to the bitter end. And we can blame, and I'm going to bring this up. I don't want to take away from Oklahoma State's win, hence why I've been saving it for the end. But we can blame the refs all we want. But Bob Stoops put it best. Don't put yourself in that position to let the refs decide the game for you. Again, we effed around and did. And we saw what happened. A poorly coached team melted down because we took our foot off the pedal due to bad coaching and lost the game. That all said, even if we won this game, deep down, I don't think OU would have beaten Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship. I think both of them would have been battered and beaten and bruised, and I really do believe that Oklahoma State would have beaten us with it. That's just a deep down gut feeling. They could have been disappointed. Who knows with it? It's just in that type of game, I just don't think so. It's just my opinion with it, though. That all being said, regular season's over. Playoff hopes, those are gone. Big 12, that was gone the moment the clock hit 0 tonight. We kind of await where we go with bowl season at this point with it. I personally think we're not going to get a New Year's Six. We're probably going to go to the Alamo Bowl. I think I saw a prediction. It was like Oregon against it. So, oh boy, we're going to go face Oregon. But more important thing, and I'll discuss more of this as the season ends, as we go more into the off season. For Riley, this is a very tough off season. This is kind of the first time you haven't been to the Big 12 championship. And I think this is a humbling moment. This is your reality check to get stuff straightened out. Riley, it's time to hire an OC, buddy. I've been beating that drum since 2019 Iowa State. I don't trust Riley's play calling anymore or his ability to manage the game. I don't trust the play calling. I don't trust him to not let his foot off the pedal, and I don't trust him on his time management. It's all bad. I think he's in over his head on that stuff, and he needs to delegate some of that work, or at the very least have an OC challenge his play calling so we know, have like different variety. It's just he stretched himself too thin and he needs help. Definitely a special teams coach. I'm still baffled why we don't ever have special teams coaches. That drives me nuts. Tonight kind of epitomized that yet again. I really miss Shane on our special teams. I think we were really good on that, but that's what happens. So, and again, we'll go more into this in postseason stuff, kind of review of the season with it. But there's probably going to be some coaches that are fired. I personally think that strength and conditioning is going to be fired. I think the CrossFit, I believe I read that it was CrossFit that he was hired on, but the CrossFit experiment has epically failed. It's time to go get somebody else at this point. As well as, I think you kind of need to address Beatembo. I think the O-line has absolutely regressed on it since about 2017, 2018, and it's time to approach them. It's rinse is due. Rent is due for our coaches at this point. And finally, player development. It's just they've looked like they've regressed, and I kind of stuck by that. Of I always wonder with Grinch why the starters looked really well, but then everybody else just looked really bad. They looked really sluggish. They looked unprepared with it. And again tonight, I'm worried behind about that overall with how player development is. To me, Caleb, despite him playing out of his mind as best as he could, he looked very much like 20. I want to say it was 20. Oh goodness, I want to say 2012 Landry Jones, that year where we just kind of collapsed on it and we faced Iowa because of all the injuries. It may have been 2011 with it. It just looks like they absolutely regressed from it. So that's where we stand with it. And there's a lot to cover and stuff from it as well, just kind of recapping. Now, the final thing I do want to go into, because I do want to wrap this video up with it. And again, I don't want to take away from Oklahoma State's win on this. I've beat this drum many times. I beat it on my live stream, and I beat this drum as much as I've beaten that Riley needing an OC. But I cannot wait until we leave this conference and go into the SEC, where we have competent refs who at least know how to officiate. Because each week and each year, I keep seeing refs finding different ways to hit rock bottom, and I keep going, how can y'all hit even lower than this? And they just keep finding new ways to surprise me. Tonight was just as bad. Between both teams, guys, there was 18 flags. Sure, 12 of them were OU and 6 for Oklahoma State, but mostly the penalty yards were equaled out at this point between both flags. There was 3 egregious pass interference calls. There was 1 picked up call, like everyone's going out of their mind of what are you doing on the pass interference calls. We had 2 of those at the end of the game of how do you not call this? When you're choke holding someone, how do you not call that? It happened in front of you. It was egregious. Out of our minds. Let's not forget, too, the flags that were no calls were when Caleb was pushed on his run. Where was that flag? And what about the stuff thrown on the field? How come we didn't flag that at this point with it? OSU has reasons to be upset, too. There was a lot of stuff where it's like offsides and things like that. But I beat this drum with Riley needing an OC. And I just keep on saying it. When our refs are going to be held accountable? I'm serious. I'm getting tired of the something bad happens on a Saturday. So regardless, it happens in other conferences too. But I'm tired of it happening on a Saturday, and then they review it, and then they say, oh, you were right. We should have called that, and then nothing's done about it. When is it going to be held accountable? When they're going to be fined, possibly fired, or even lose their credentials for it? I know, again, this stuff happens in other conferences, and I know they have off days. I have off days at my own job. But there's a reason the Big 12 has such a bad reputation for their officiating crews, just like the Pac-12 does, even worse back in the day with it. But I look at it this way. If I gave the same performance like they did game in and game out on Saturday, I would have been fired a long time ago. The refs need to do better. This was a bad game for them and just epitomizes why I can't wait to leave this conference. I'm all for like accountability with it, and I think the XFL had the right idea when you had the mics of what they were just talking about. I want to know what they were talking about when they picked up the call. That's what I want to know. I want to know the other stuff as well with it. I think it makes them accountable. But again, off-season stuff, we can talk about this again. It's a point tonight with it, and it does affect kind of the game flow of the game. You can't tell me that the pass interferences at the end would not have affected it. Yeah, OU could have still lost from it. There's no guarantee OU won, but it definitely changed the momentum of it, of a 2-yard run-in versus you throwing it on all 4 downs. So that all being said, guys, that's where it's at. I've had a wonderful ride with y'all this season. Live stream is tomorrow night, again, 8 o'clock Central Standard Time, possibly with Sean and Gavin. We're all going to have group therapy yet again as we're at the end of the season. We're going to discuss the game, and we're just going to kind of see where we go to from here, as well as recruiting, everything like that. So, guys, Boomer Sooner. Only one Oklahoma. Again, folks, congratulations. Y'all earned this Bedlam win, and I'll see y'all tomorrow night.